Welcome to the video lectures of Vivekananda Institute of Management. In this video we are going to look at planning premises. All the plans that are created created in certain environment, and they have certain limits, because if we try to include various factors, the factors would be endless and the planning process would never end. So what we are required to do is we have to limit the planning to only those factors which can have a impact, and the other factors which are either going to have limited impact or their chances of occurring is very remote, such factors have to be left out. We have to only plan for those events which are anticipated, which may occur, as well as among them those which are going to have a higher impact. So the factors which are not going to have a greater impact, or the factors which are unlikely to happen, these things should not be included in the planning. Of course, you have to be ready for such things. Such unanticipated things may happen, or some factors which you did not anticipate to have a high impact, they may have an impact. Those things may be there, but they have to be approached with a contingent manner. As and when they come, you have to do your best. But if you keep on planning for unanticipated and very remote events, then your planning will never stop and you will never begin to act. So to begin to act, you need to have a plan which is in a framework. Okay, and that framework, generally what the word we use in Kannada or in the Chaukat, so a frame within which the planning is included. So that we have to set up. So in this diagram you will see that there is internal environment, and the external environment is classified into task environment and general environment. So there are some factors which are going to play a very significant role, and those factors have to be considered while we are planning. So the internal environment has to be planned. The internal environment has a feature that it is controllable. It is in the hands of the organization. And the external environment, in that the task environment can be influenced a bit. You can exercise a little bit of influence, but not control over the task environment. And then the general environment is there, on which you have hardly any control. You may try to influence it, but even influencing the general environment is difficult. So when we are planning, we have to first consider what are the factors within the organization on which I have control, and how these things are going to pan out in the future. What will be the difference from today's situation to the situation in the future? So that thing you have to take into consideration. Similarly, the task environment, what are those areas which are likely to have an effect on the business, and what is the level of impact and how they are going to change. So these factors which you are going to consider will form the planning premises. Now let us look at the definition of planning premises. I'll read out fully and then we'll look at it bit by bit. Planning premises are the anticipated environment in which plans are expected to operate. They include assumptions or forecasts of the future and known conditions that will affect the course of plans, such as prevailing policies and existing company plans that controls the basic nature of supporting plans. Now let us split this and look at the definition. Planning premises are the anticipated environment in which plans are expected to operate. So the environment in which the plan will be implemented. Okay, so these are factors which are considered in the planning premises. So now if you look at once again this diagram, so the internal environment includes the owners, the board of directors, the employees, the culture, okay, the various resources that are available for the organization. So all these things form the internal environment. And then the task environment is also there, where you have competitors, customers, suppliers, your partners and regulators. So these are factors which are there in the environment, which are going to remain either same or they may change. Okay, so generally change is going to happen because all these factors are dynamic in nature. Some of them may change little, some of them may not change, some of them may change rapidly also. So what is the kind of change that may happen, that you are going to take into consideration when you are planning, because these are the factors about which you have to make certain assumptions also. You have to make certain forecasts also. In cases where there is forecast possible, that is, some scientific method is there based for you to calculate what is going to happen in future. Like say for example, the sales over the previous years will tell you in which direction the sales may happen this year. But whereas which new competitor may come into the market, or what new brands or what new products the competitor may bring in, these things cannot be forecast. You have to work on certain assumptions there. So assumptions are good on the basis of experience. Okay, without experience, assumptions may be very, very risky, because you are not understanding the industry and the business. So without that understanding, making assumptions is not going to be right. So only the experienced persons must make certain assumptions. Forecasting is a tool which can be used. Okay, so if you have the facts, figures, and how the trends have been over the past, you can forecast what is going to happen in the future. So you will include various assumptions and forecasts also in the planning premises. So you have to assume about what the competitor may do. You have to try to forecast what is the customer need and requirement. You have to forecast about the suppliers. You have to make assumptions about your partners, what they are going to do, etc. And also the regulators. So the regulators, you know about the tax, etc., the government charges, the labor policy, okay, the environmental policy, the Competition Act, various things that the government puts into place. There you have to both sometimes make certain assumptions, and also you have to take some forecast also. So these things you have to consider very, very properly. So when you make a note of what is going to in fact impact us and how this impact may change over the period of time, you can plan accordingly. See, we'll take an example. Okay, now let us say if you are leading your team in a sports match, let us say it is a football match, and there are various things that you have to anticipate and also assume. One of the assumptions will be, if you are taking to the field, you are assuming that the other team is also coming prepared. Okay, then you will also assume that the umpires and other people who are the match officials, they are neutral, they are not biased. Okay, similarly, based on your track record, etc., you will forecast that this is the person who is good for the playing in the front, this is the person who will be good in the middle, and this is the person who is good at defense, this goalkeeper is a better goalkeeper. These are the things that you will forecast. Okay, this person is more likely to score because he is playing very well. So these are the kind of things that you will be forecasting. So similarly, you have to take into consideration various factors like what would the actual weather be. Okay, so depending on the weather also, the type of dress you are going to wear, the type of preparation that you are going to make, so this will be included in the plan. Now let us say if your Olympics are nearing next year, so the teams which are going to Olympic, that Olympic will be played in Japan. So the teams have to take into consideration what the climatic condition in Japan will be next year, probably June. So would it be very chilled out there, and if we from India are going there, what would be the preparation that is required? So where to acclimatize ourselves to the climate? So several factors have to be considered, and you should also forecast about the overall climatic conditions there, and accordingly you can make your plan. And similarly, other factors like, would there be people from our country to support us in the stadium? And if the answer is yes, then it becomes a support for us, it becomes a positive aspect. On the other hand, if we find that okay, there will be our people also, but our matches are against the host country, and the host public will outnumber us, and so the cheering that they receive will be much larger to the cheering we will receive. So Similarly, we have to consider in business also. Now let us take an example related to business. Let us say you are into the business of mobile devices. Okay, so the internal environment, owners, board of directors, employees, culture, resources, these are various factors that are in your hand, and you need to just as owners, you need to plan what kind of employees do I have, whether they are having the required competency or not. Let us say you want to launch a new mobile which is having very high advanced features, and then at that time you have to see whether your employees have the necessary knowledge and skills to design such mobiles, and even if you are getting the kits, can they assemble it or do they require training. So you need to know that. And the culture, whether the people are listening to you well or not, whether you have good relations with them or not, these are also factors which are going to influence. Now let us look at the task environment here. So as a mobile manufacturer and seller, you have to look at the competitors also. So what is the competitors pricing? So is he going to keep the prices constant or is he going to bring it down? So these are assumptions that you need to make. Okay, so similarly the customer's requirements. So does the customer feel value for money for my product? This is something for you to find out. And also you know about your reputation. Okay, if your reputation is good with the customers, it acts as an advantage. On the other hand, if your reputation is not so good, you have to correct it. You have to correct the image in the minds of the public. So the brand equity, what we call, must be positive and it must be very high. So unless the customers feel value for money and there is customer satisfaction, they are not likely to purchase your products. So the perception in the minds of consumers, that is going to impact. So you need to understand what is the customer perception and also methods by which you can influence the perception. Now you will be making certain assumptions. If I put an advertisement in this media using this particular say a star or somebody, a celebrity endorser, then would it have a positive impact? Then you would be making certain assumptions there that yes, if I get XYZ who is a hero to advertise my product, then it may have a positive impact. So that may be the outcome or that may not be the outcome, but you are working on certain possibilities, and based on such possibilities you may feel, okay, let us have Amitabh Bachchan and Dhoni to promote this brand. So, and you feel that this will have a positive impact. It is just an assumption. That may have or that may not have, that is secondary. Out how much it will have, that is to be discovered later. But during the planning stage, if you feel, okay, these brand ambassadors will help me, then you will plan accordingly. Okay, let me go for Amitabh Bachchan and Dhoni for this. So like what TVS have done for their vehicles. So whether it helps them or not, the sales will tell it. Okay, so we have to find out such things in the future, but right at the step of planning you have to include certain assumptions there. Similarly the suppliers. So the raw materials that are required for this mobile, are they of the good quality or not? Will they reach me in time or not? At what cost am I getting these things? So if you are getting it at a reasonable price as the competitors are getting, then your pricing can be aggressive. Otherwise, if you are getting it at a higher cost than your competitors, your margin will be less or you will not be able to sell at profit. So it becomes difficult for you. So you have to consider the supplier's position also. And if you have got good suppliers who are supplying good things or quality goods in time at lower price, then that gives you an advantage. You should also know how these suppliers are behaving with you. So you would be like predicting that they would be with you, or are they likely to go to others. If they have been asking you for higher prices, if they are bargaining, then maybe if you are not little bit easy on them, if you are very hard in bargaining, they may stop supplying, and that may totally disrupt your market if you do not get the required parts. Okay, let us say you are purchasing the touch screen from some company, and that company is asking you for higher prices, but because of the sluggish market you are bargaining very hard and getting it at very low price. that person would be trying to sell it to others. Now if he gets an order from your competitors and if he is getting a better price there, then instead of supplying it to you, he may supply it to your competitors and give you some excuse, and suddenly what happens, you will be left with no touch screens and your production will be affected. So all your plan may be affected. So you have to keep in mind what kind of relationship you have so that you can plan properly. If not this supplier, is there any alternate supplier for me? So these things must be in your mind. So if that is, you have a doubt, okay, this supplier is not very trustworthy, he may supply to the competitors at any time and he may say I have no stock, and that if you feel so, if your assumption is like that, then you may think of having multiple suppliers. So you can go for finding other suppliers also. Similarly, your partners, so are they providing you the necessary technology properly or not? I'm speaking specifically about mobiles. So the softwares that are being loaded, are they proper softwares or not? Are they free of viruses and other technical glitches? So these things have to be considered. So if you are installing some of the apps initially, okay, and if you are supplying it to the consumers, and if those apps are not safe, then your brand will take a severe beating in the market, and because of the fault of one app, your entire effort of having a good mobile may be lost. So you have to take into consideration the safety factors also. So it is though a technological dimension, but your partner, whether he has provided you with the proper application or not, that is something you have to see. Then what is government going to do? So what the government wants you to do with the old mobiles, etc. These are things that may come into picture. So if the government says, if you are planning for a 5G mobile, and the government may say for every 5G mobile you sell, you have to recycle at least one 2G mobile. If that condition is imposed, is it likely to be imposed that way? So these are factors a company has to take into consideration. So whenever you are planning, you have to consider various factors that are going to influence your business. So these factors which you consider, and then try to find out what kind of effect they are going to have in the future, and accordingly you make your plans, is known as the planning premises. Hope you have understood. In case of doubt, please get in touch. Thank you.